Ladies and gentlemen, as you guys know, the Call of Duty game this year is called Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and obviously, at its roots, it's a Black Ops game. But what's weird about this is that you'd think with a Black Ops game taking place between Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, it would predominantly be about Frank Woods and Alex Mason. But that's absolutely not the case in this game. This game much so more focuses on Adler, Russell Adler, a brand new character to the Call of Duty series. So far as the story of Black Ops Cold War has gone, we've looked at the true identity of Bell, we've dove into explaining the ending, but we haven't done a series that I hold really dearly on this channel, and I like to call it the full story of. And this is the series where we take an individual character, dive into their origins, look at where they came from, and how their story progresses throughout the different Call of Duty games. Now, today we're going to be diving into Russell Adler, a character who's technically only in one Call of Duty game, but story goes much beyond that. Now, if you enjoy this series and want to see more of it with other characters, first of all, hit that like button. Let's see if we can get this video to 15,000 likes. If we do, then we'll continue this series. On top of that, let me know which characters you'd like to see me cover next down in the comments. But as far as Adler goes, he's interesting. Described by Hudson, he is the agent that he sends on, quite literally, insane missions.
Strategically speaking, this borders on insanity, which is precisely the type of work we rely on Adler for.
And then by Park is described as incredibly secretive. Someone who has worked with him in the past, which we'll dive into in this video, doesn't even know how he got the giant scars on his face.
No more than you need to, I'll tell you that. Avoid personal questions. And whatever you do, never ask him about his scar.
So we know Adler is insane, we know he's secretive, and these all make for a pretty interesting story. So without further ado, I present to you the full story of Russell Adler. On February 12th, 1937, Russell Adler was born. Now, we know his background is American, we just don't know where in America he was from, or anything to do with his parents or anything like that. It's pretty secretive. Now, at the age of 17 in 1955, Russell Adler enlisted in the US Army, and by 1957 was in the Special Forces. Later, he then joined the CIA in the year 1966, where a year later, he was assigned to the MACV SOG unit in Vietnam. This is where the story begins in Black Ops Cold War. So this is not the first mission of Black Ops Cold War, but it is the first mission chronologically. It takes place in the year 1967 in Vietnam. And technically you are playing as Bell here, but what you are remembering is Russell Adler's memory. Now it's important to note that in this mission, Russell Adler does not have his scar. Now, why do I say that that's important? Well, first of all, aside from Park telling us not to ask about his scar,
and whatever you do, never ask him about his scar.
Later in the game, you can literally ask him about his scar, and his answer is,
"You wanna know how I got these scars?"
Oops, wrong clip. Sorry, this is what he says.
Scar? You mean this? Is it noticeable? I jumped off a roof in Calcutta back in '75 while chasing a Soviet agent. The jump was successful. The landing, not so much. Advice? Always make sure you know where the utility poles are.
So it's hard to tell whether or not he's telling the truth there. It seems like a pretty lame story for pretty giant scars, but we don't really know. We have to assume that what he's saying is the truth. So in the year 1975 is when he got those scars on his face. This lines up because in the cutscene for Vietnam in 1967, he doesn't have his scars. So the mission in Vietnam in 1967 is confusing because you play as Bell and everything that happens in the mission didn't actually happen in real life. So the very beginning of the mission where you wake up and Adler is talking to you, that didn't happen. What did happen is everything after you open the red door. Now, replace being Bell with being Adler. You get directed to a military base to collect an asset. This asset ends up being a nuclear device. You carry it in a helicopter until the helicopter gets shot down, and Perseus attempts to take the nuclear bomb from Adler and from the American Army. That was Adler's big run-in with Perseus in Vietnam. Now, there is a little bit more to this. In the mission where Bell is getting brainwashed with the MK Ultra close to the end of the game, the mission begins with Bell dropping out of a downed helicopter to go and assault a Perseus bunker. Now, it's hard to tell whether this is something that happened to Adler or whether this was just a way of getting information out of Bell. Keep in mind, everything in Vietnam was Adler's memories that they gave to Bell. So seemingly, with the helicopter crash in the first Vietnam mission, and then you falling out of a helicopter in this one, it seemingly somehow crosses over, but there's no full proof. Not to mention that in the interviews when you're talking to Adler, he says that he never actually had a face-to-face run-in with Perseus, but maybe he did find a Perseus bunker.
Did I ever see his face? No. That photo on the board is all we have, and it's more than 20 years old. Handsome man. I hope the years weren't kind to him.
Now, on top of this, you can talk to Woods and Mason, and they say that Adler has been tracking him for more than 3 decades.
Yeah, for Adler, it's a culmination of 3 decades of meticulous tracking. He'll probably be extra pissy on this mission.
Yeah.
I advise you to stay focused and drop the nostalgia.
Now, I don't know if you guys caught it too, but this is actually a mistake in the Treyarch campaign. There's a big loophole here because it says that Adler has been tracking him for over 3 decades. Now, the game takes place in 1981, Adler was born in 1937, and for him to be tracking him for 3 decades, that would mean Adler started tracking him when he was younger than 14. Clearly, that's not the case. What I think they meant here is that the US government or the CIA had been tracking him for 3 decades, because when you talk to Adler, it said that he ran into him over 20 years ago, which does make sense. The next thing we know about Adler is that he spent more time than just in this game in this specific CIA safe house in Berlin.
The safe house? I've done time here before. Years back. This go round? Just a few days now. As Lazar, he can't get enough of safe houses.
And as it turns out, we know a little bit more about his time spent in this safe house. We actually see in the Season 1 trailer that in the safe house is where he interrogated Stitch, where he stabbed him in the eye, and all of that happened. It appears as though it happens in the photo developing room with the red light. We also know that this cutscene takes place after the year 1975 because Adler has his scar. So this is the timeline leading up to the events of Black Ops Cold War. In 1967, Adler has his first run-in with Perseus as his helicopter gets shot down containing a nuke. After this, in the year 1975, he's doing something in Calcutta when he jumps off a building and runs his face into a utility pole. After 1975, at some point, he has Stitch inside the safe house in Berlin where he interrogates him and stabs him in the eye. We also know that he spent time working with Park protecting 2 British scientists. We don't have any more information about this, and we don't know when that took place, but we do know at that time he did work with Park with 2 British scientists. Then we have the beginning of Black Ops Cold War. So the game starts in Amsterdam, where you're in a bar with Adler and you're working as Mason, and Woods pulls up in the alley. In this mission, you're tracking down Qasim Javadi, a person involved with the Iran hostage crisis. Once you track him down and interrogate him, he tells you about his accomplice, Arash Kadivar, and how he is doing some weapons smuggling at a Turkish airstrip. You go there, you kill Arash Kadivar, and you get information on Perseus. Specifically, you get Bell, who is going to be your information on Perseus. The next mission Adler goes on is called Brick in the Wall, and it is in Berlin. Now, in this mission, you are tracking down Anton Volkov, and eventually, Bell ends up getting captured by him. And essentially, by the end of the mission, Adler is there to save the day and save Bell, and eventually capture Anton Volkov. After this, the next mission that Adler goes on is alongside Bell, and this time they were infiltrating the KGB headquarters. They use Hudson's asset, Dmitry Belikov, who works inside the KGB, to get them inside. Now, once inside, they end up recovering a list of sleeper agents who they use to identify a scientist working for Perseus. At this point in the next mission, Adler doesn't go on it, but Bell does and ends up talking to the scientist who has actually been shot by Perseus, and the scientist told them that he reverse engineered the nuclear codes so that he's able to detonate all of the Operation Greenlight nukes that are placed around Europe. At this point, Adler essentially snaps and takes things to the next level.
Adler, stop wasting our valuable time. He's of no use to us anymore.
Stay alert, Bell. You're the key to stopping Perseus.
No more half-assing it. We're doing an intracerebral injection.
Damn, the eye socket. You sure about this, Doctor? I guess we're doing this.
Bell, listen to me. I need you to remember. Think back to our time in Vietnam one more time. We need to finish what we started. We had a job to do.
So this is when the big twist of the game happens. You find out that Adler is using Project MK Ultra to essentially brainwash Bell, implanting his own memories inside his head to get information on Perseus, because Bell used to be working alongside Perseus. Now this is the biggest question I have about Adler, is this last brainwashing mission. It's really hard to tell if this is a memory that Adler has and has implanted in Bell, or if this is just something brand new that they are using to extract information out of him. Or if it's 50-50. They never explain that, and I personally don't know the answer. Now, after the brainwashing ensues, there's a potential of 3 different endings, but we're only going to focus on 2 of them. In the evil ending, essentially you end up siding with Perseus and giving away Adler in the crew's position, and well, this is what ends up happening to Adler.
Glad to see you still care. Mind giving me a light?
Now, where this is an interesting ending, we also know it is not the canon ending, so that's pretty much all that this one has to offer, is just being neat. The other ending that is the canon ending is the good ending, and in this one you end up stopping Perseus alongside Bell, and then Adler, at the very end, ends up making a very strange decision about Bell.
Arctic air. There's the head, doesn't it? Bell, you made 2 extraordinary sacrifices to stop Perseus. One was without your knowledge. The other, you made that decision of your own accord. I just want you to know that this little thing that's happened with you and me, it was always for the greater good. You're a goddamn hero, you know that, kid? Heroes have to make sacrifices. That's why when I ask you for one more, I hope you understand. It was never personal.
Now we know that this is the canon ending, but we also know that Adler does not die here, because the multiplayer of this game takes place in 1983 and 1984, and Adler is there. He's one of the operators, so we know he didn't die at the end of the campaign, which leads us to believe that Bell is pretty much dead, but we talk about that in Bell's video separately, so we're not going to dive too far into that today. So that is where the end of Adler's story comes in, with the multiplayer. That's the latest we know about him, and I'm willing to bet that throughout the different seasons of Black Ops Cold War, we're going to get more and more information on him, as with Season 1 we find out about his history with Stitch, and I have a feeling that more and more throughout these seasons we're going to find out more and more about Adler, and hopefully they answer the question as to why we never see Adler in Black Ops 2. But with that trailer for Season 1, yeah, it answers a lot of questions about Adler and his history with Stitch, but it leads to one bigger question for me. In the very first scene of that cinematic trailer, we see a sticky note on the board saying Wood's BFF is missing, which is basically the most wholesome way of saying Mason is missing. And this leads to the question, where is Mason? Well, I have an idea, and if you want to see a video on it, all you got to do to show me is hit that like button, let me know that you want to see it down in the comments, and maybe we'll do the next full story on Alex Mason. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, it's appreciated if you hit that like button. That is the full story of Adler. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. But as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.